from salt water if they're going to nurture life on Earth, and the separation of land from water. Some technology has to be used to say to the sea, thus far and no further. And once again, we've got vortices of wind doing the work, the four winds of the Sumerian account. Is the same visual memory being told from culture to culture? And if it is, who were the eyewitnesses who recalled this ancient visitation? Francisco Jimenez was the Dominican priest who in the very early 1700s translated an ancient Quiche text which had been entrusted to him. It was the Mayan creation narrative, and it spoke of the arrival of beings from the heavens to a flooded planet Earth once again, and it's flooded and shrouded in darkness. And those who arrive hover above the waters, we're told. Hover above the waters and hold discussions as to how they're going to nurture life on Earth, botanical life, and then zoological life, and then intelligent life with which they can work. What the text leaves open is the question of what they are hovering in. But if we're willing to read these ancient mythologies alongside each other, it's actually the Bible that introduces the theme of technology and explains what these beings arrived in when they hovered over the prehistoric waters.
Stan and I have just 1 weekend and less than $2,000 to make over this urban backyard.
In the book of Genesis, we're told that the Elohim, the powerful ones, arrive over the dark flood waters of the planet in a ruach. The word ruach is popularly translated as the Spirit of God, and in later texts in the Bible, it appears to be used in that way. In its first mention in Genesis, the text specifies that the ruach was hovering. The word for hovering, melahephet, is the word the Bible uses to describe how birds of prey hover in the sky, appearing to float in the air without moving their wings. This is what the powerful one's ruach was doing. It was hovering in the sky without moving any wings. The Filipino narrative speaks about Tagalog, the hawk, hovering over the waters and with its wings creating vortices of wind to clear dry land. And so there's a really interesting note here in Genesis that talks about this ruach, which is hovering like a hawk. I wonder if there's a connection there. There is another connection in the word itself. Mauro Bellino is a scholar of ancient Hebrew. For many years, he worked for the St. Paul Press in Rome, translating with great precision the literal meaning of Hebrew words for Vatican-approved interlinear Bibles. Providing the interlinear meaning is a very exact discipline. The scholar must be rigorous in avoiding any kind of interpretation of the word, and give only the literal etymological meaning of each word part. So it is with that degree of precision that Mauro Bellino explains in his writings that the use of the word ruach in Hebrew literature shows that the word means either a wind or something flying through the air and creating a strong wind. This meaning has survived to this day in the Ethiopian Amharic word roha. It means a fan or anything that moves through the air and creates a wind. What could this wind-making ruach possibly be? So just like the mysterious forces in the Sumerian narrative, just like Tagalog the hawk in the Filipino narrative, what we have here is a story of strong winds, vortices of wind, being used to terraform the planet. The winds are being created by a ruach. So what is that ruach? Mauro Bellino argues that ruach is a craft. Mauro Bellino asked the question of how this word would have been written in primitive cuneiform script. Broken into two phonemes, two elements emerge. One element is that of a body of water, and the second element is of something hovering over the water. It looks like an eye from some points of view, but to the modern eye, it's very difficult not to perceive it as a flying saucer hovering over a body of water. In primitive cuneiform, a flying saucer hovering over a body of water is pronounced ruach, and the writers remember that it created a strong vortex of wind used in terraforming the planet. Now, it's fair to say that not every scholar agrees with that interpretation of ruach, but in actual fact, the word's meaning is confirmed if we go further into the Bible, into the stories of Moses and Ezekiel. Ezekiel speaks about a ruach, which picked him up and took him on journeys around ancient Iraq, flying in the sky. He describes how this ruach appeared in the sky, how it landed, what it looked like, the materials it was made of, and what kind of wheels it had. And the precision with which Ezekiel describes this craft, this ruach, is so great that NASA actually has a patent on those wheels. It was granted in 1974 to Joseph Blumrich. It's called the omnidirectional wheel. Now, those who want to translate ruach as the Spirit or Spirit of God have a bit of a problem here. How can NASA have a patent on the Spirit of God? NASA has a patent on ancient technology described in great detail in the Bible. It was in 1974 that Joseph Blumrich, as NASA's Chief of Advanced Structural Development, was able to obtain a patent for the omnidirectional wheel described in the book of Ezekiel. The patent, US 3789947A, was issued on February the 5th of 1974 and is used by NASA to this day. Sanskrit texts from the ancient Indian world of the Vedas have no embarrassment in describing the Vimanas in their ancient stories in technological terms as flying craft with capability for both aerial and space flight. A text from between 1000 of the Common Era and 1055 of the Common Era, called the Samarangana Sutradhara, written by King Bhoja of Dar, describes the capabilities and propulsion system of the Vimana. The Mahabharata speaks of Vimanas which could fly, dispatch sound-seeking missiles, and destroy targets with what we would call lasers. Once again, the ancient writers reach for metaphor to describe unfamiliar and powerful technology in earthly terms. Some Vimanas are described in terms befitting earthly palaces. Yet there's no attempt to make mechanical devices or physical technologies sound like something ethereal or spiritual. Another word the Bible uses for ancient flying technology is kavod, and it means a big, heavy thing. And the way it's used in the text shows us that these big, heavy things could fly, but when they landed, they created quite a ruckus. They would arrive in fire and smoke, the earth would shake beneath them, and a sound like an enormous waterfall would emanate from the craft. And it's in one of these that the character Yahweh appears in the book of Exodus and meets with Moses on Mount Sinai. Now, the conventional translation gets into some difficulty here, because at the end of this long dialogue, Moses asks this powerful one, this Yahweh, "Can I see your kavod? Would you show me the kavod, the big heavy thing?" Yahweh explains.